My name is Kevin Martins. I've been in the space for 2 years now, and I've done almost 7 figures in total revenue with organic dropshipping. And with this business model, I've been able to cop my dream apartment here in Miami, start multiple real brands, scale them to multiple 6 figures, and also make more in a single day than most 23-year-olds do. Okay. And the cool part about all this is that I documented my whole entire journey here on this YouTube channel from the very first video, which was me talking about my 3-month organic dropshipping journey, all the way to, finding my first ever pump and dump, which was the Deadpool mask, and then making $10,000 in 24 hours with my first ever brand, and then scaling another brand to almost 7 figures as well, all live for you guys. Okay. So if you guys actually pay attention, you might learn a thing or two. I've also generated over 7 figures for my students. So I think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this subject. You guys can go ahead and watch all these case studies on the YouTube. Okay. So if you guys actually pay attention in this lesson, I'm going to break down exactly how to think like a 6-figure or even 7-figure organic dropshipper and the mindset that you need when picking products, finding winning concepts, and separating yourself from 99% of the competition. A lot of you guys always ask like, yo, how do you think like the way you do about products? Like, how do you have like that long-term mindset when it comes to brand building and stuff like that? And today I'm going to go ahead and show you how, right? I hope after this video, you become this person right here, going left instead of right, saying no instead of yes. Okay. So we need to start kind of breaking everything down from first principles. Okay. So we need to start thinking critically and not emotionally. Okay. So a lot of you, including myself in the beginning, can get caught up in the hype of new product trends, niches, and all the noise on your burner or even just YouTube, right? Well, it's not bad, to kind of stay in the mix and being aware of what's currently happening in the market. You need to start thinking and making more logical decisions instead of emotional ones. Okay. This is Marcus Aurelius. Okay. You kind of need to be a little bit stoic about it. All right. So organic is one of those business models where you have to stay emotionless, okay? Through both the highs and the lows, business is not always consistent, especially in the beginning where you're still trying to figure things out and haven't found a winning product or built systems that create consistency, okay? So what I mean by this is that in the beginning, we are all very emotional about this business model because, you eventually get your first ever sale because, this is the type of business model where like you're almost guaranteed to get the results. It's just a matter of the speed in which you get them. So at one point in time, you will get your first sale and you'll feel like on top of the world. But then the next day you might be back at 0. Same thing would apply if you hit your first ever 1K day. The next day you might be down to 500, right? And you can't be emotional about these because it's just part of the game, okay? These are just things that happen on a day-to-day basis while being a business owner, especially in the beginning when you don't have it cracked just yet, right? Like right now, at my point and where a lot of my advanced students are at, like we're making money consistently every single month, like no doubt about it, right? Because we built the necessary systems and infrastructure to provide us with that sort of consistency. But in the beginning, you're not going to have it, right? And so you have to be emotionless, right? Through the good and the bad. Like even at my point now where I'm like hitting consistent 1K days, like it's almost like I don't really feel happy or sad. It just is, right? And sometimes, we do really get caught on the whole emotion side of things when it comes to certain products. Like I remember when it came to my first ever pump and dump product, which was the Merc face mask. I was in love with that product, bro. I thought that was going to be the product that's going to, get me to my first 7 figures. And unfortunately it wasn't, right? It only made me 30 grand, which I'm super grateful for. But sometimes you have to be able to kind of disconnect your emotions from what's best for the business, right? And, you have to kind of be stoic about it. So this is probably one of the first like fundamental lessons that I did learn as a beginner. And, as I climbed up, I started being even more emotionless about things because sometimes, you're going to go through shit and you're going to want to like fucking cry, and that's okay to cry, right? It's okay to be sad, but you need to move forward, right? If it's out of your control, it's none of your concern. Nice little quote from Mr. Marcus Aurelius here. So yeah, start thinking critically and not emotionally. All right. So next slide here is going to be first principle thinking. I know you guys heard me say that earlier in the presentation. So let's go ahead and break down the definition. Okay. So first principle thinking is the process of breaking a problem or idea down to its most basic truths and then building your solution from the ground up instead of copying what everyone else is doing or relying on assumptions. So essentially what this means is just asking more questions, saying why more to literally everything that happens in your business life and even your life, right? Because a lot of us tend to assume. We all have assumptions in life, and sometimes those assumptions can take us to, not the best places when it comes to not only business, but in real life. a really good example. It's like, I've had this happen to me. When you assume a girl likes you because she just literally glanced at you for literally half a second, you're like, oh yeah, she likes me. But that's just an assumption. Most likely not. She was probably just looking at my weird hair and she was like, oh, this guy's ugly as shit. But you have to go ahead and question, right? So you would probably want to go up to that girl and start talking to her and actually, break everything down from first principles and think, does she actually like me or not? Same thing would apply when it comes to just questioning certain products. When you see a really good product on your burner, and by good, I mean you think it's good, you want to make sure that you go ahead and take a look at the demand and look at the analytical data to tell you the truth. Because guys, I'll be completely honest, the truth does not lie. Okay, the truth does not lie, let alone numbers. And so it's really important that you break everything down to the most constituent parts, whether you're trying to find out if this girl genuinely likes you by literally going up to her and asking her, to then you possibly going through your burner, finding a winning product and you actually doing a test order, or looking through the comments for demand and stuff like that. So that's going to be a pretty good example of first principle thinking. I also want to show you other examples of what I mean by first principle thinking. So we're going to go ahead and show you some real world examples, not some imaginary girl that doesn't even exist yet. Fuck, bro, I miss her. But the first one we're going to be talking about is Mr. Henry Ford, okay? Henry Ford, the guy that created Ford Motors, okay? So essentially, instead of asking himself, right, how do I make a faster horse? Because at that time, people would only ride horses. Henry Ford looked at the transportation system from the ground up, right? He really looked at it, he broke it down, and he asked himself, what do people actually need? Right? And the answer was faster, more reliable travel. That led to him creating the automobile, aka car, instead of improving horses. Because people at the time were telling him, bro, horses is all we need, bro. Like, what are you talking about cars? Like these wheels. What are you trying to do, bro? Like, no. Like, we need to kind of keep everything how it is and stick with like the old man mentality. Okay. And Henry Ford was like, no, bro, fuck that shit, bro. I'm going to break everything down to the fundamentals and ask, what do people actually need? It's just faster traveling, bro, more reliable travel. And so that evidently made him create the car. Okay. Imagine if we were still riding horses in 2026, pulling up to your shorty south with a horse. What are we doing? Okay. Same thing applies to people saying AI doesn't work with organic dropshipping. It's all bullshit. Shut up. What are you saying? You're so ignorant, bro. Obviously, AI does work with organic. Of course, traditional organic still works, but you saying that AI is bullshit, you're ignorant and you have an old man mentality. And so you need to start thinking from first principles and being very objective about your decisions rather than what you think is the truth. Okay, stop being so subjective.